The Brian Wells case, often referred to as the pizza bomber or collar bomb case, is one of the most bizarre and tragic criminal cases in recent history. In 2003, a pizza delivery driver named Brian Wells was forced to rob a bank in Erie, Pennsylvania, while wearing a collar bomb that ultimately detonated, killing him. This case captivated the nation and left many questions about who was responsible and how such a convoluted plot came to be. This video delves into the details of the case, the investigation, and the trial, highlighting the intricate web of deceit and manipulation that led to Brian Wells' tragic death. Brian Wells, the victim. Brian Douglas Wells was a 46-year-old pizza delivery driver for B0mber's Pizzeria in Erie, Pennsylvania. Described by friends and family as a quiet, hard-working man, Wells led a relatively uneventful life. On August 28, 2003, Wells was on a routine delivery when he was thrust into a nightmare scenario that would ultimately cost him his life: the robbery. On that fateful day, Wells was dispatched to deliver a pizza to a remote location at the end of a dirt road. According to Wells, when he arrived, he was accosted by several individuals who forced a bomb collar around his neck. They provided him with a shotgun, disguised as a cane, and handed him a set of detailed instructions for robbing a PNC bank branch. Wells entered the bank around 2:30 p.m., wearing the bomb collar and carrying the shotgun cane. He handed the teller a note demanding $250,000, claiming that the bomb would detonate if his demands were not met. The teller, unable to access such a large sum of money, gave Wells $8,702. Wells then exited the bank and began following the instructions given to him, which directed him to a series of locations where he was supposed to find clues to remove the bomb. The explosion. Approximately 15 minutes after leaving the bank, Wells was apprehended by police in a nearby parking lot. As officers surrounded him, Wells pleaded for help, insisting that the bomb would go off. Despite their efforts to secure the area and call in the bomb squad, the device detonated, killing Wells instantly at 3:18 p.m. The horrific incident was captured on live television, shocking viewers and raising numerous questions about the circumstances surrounding the robbery. The investigation. The investigation into Brian Wells' death was complex and multifaceted, involving local law enforcement, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Investigators were initially skeptical of Wells' role, suspecting that he might have been a willing participant in the robbery. However, as the investigation progressed, it became clear that Wells was a victim of an elaborate and sinister plot. The collar bomb itself was a sophisticated device, equipped with multiple locks, timers, and booby traps. The instructions found on Wells detail a scavenger hunt that appeared designed to buy time rather than provide a genuine means of disarming the bomb. This led investigators to believe that the perpetrators never intended for Wells to survive. Key suspects: Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong and Kenneth Barnes. The breakthrough in the case came when a man named Kenneth Barnes was arrested on unrelated drug charges in 2005. Barnes, a former television repairman with a criminal record, implicated Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong, a woman with a history of mental illness and violent behavior, as the mastermind behind the plot. Diehl-Armstrong, once a prominent figure in Erie society, had a long history of criminal activity and mental health issues. She was already in jail for the murder of her boyfriend, James Roden, whom she had killed to prevent him from revealing the robbery plot. Barnes revealed that Diehl-Armstrong had enlisted his help, along with Wells and another man named William Rothstein, in the bank robbery scheme. The arrests and confessions. Based on Barnes' testimony and further investigation, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong was arrested and charged with multiple crimes, including armed bank robbery and the use of a destructive device in a crime of violence. Rothstein, who had been a key figure in the plot, had died of cancer in 2004, but he left behind a wealth of evidence implicating Diehl-Armstrong and others. Diehl-Armstrong initially denied her involvement, but as the evidence mounted, she changed her story multiple times. She claimed that Wells had been a willing participant, a statement contradicted by the physical evidence and testimony from other co-conspirators. Investigators determined that Diehl-Armstrong was the primary architect of the plot, driven by a need for money to pay off her legal expenses and avoid financial ruin. The trial and conviction. The trial of Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong began in October 2010. The prosecution presented a compelling case supported by forensic evidence, testimony from Barnes and other witnesses, and Diehl-Armstrong's own contradictory statements. They argued that Diehl-Armstrong had orchestrated the robbery, exploiting Wells and the other participants for her gain. The defense attempted to portray Diehl-Armstrong as mentally ill and incapable of masterminding such a complex plot. However, the jury was not convinced by this argument. After a 3-week trial, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Kenneth Barnes, who had cooperated with authorities, received a reduced sentence of 45 years in prison. His testimony was instrumental in securing Diehl-Armstrong's conviction and unraveling the details of the plot. Psychological analysis. The Brian Wells case highlights the intersection of criminal behavior and mental illness. Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong's history of mental health issues and violent tendencies were well documented, yet she was able to manipulate and coerce others into participating in her scheme. The case underscores the importance of addressing mental health issues and the potential for untreated conditions to contribute to criminal behavior. The use of a collar bond and the detailed instructions provided to Wells also demonstrate the extreme lengths to which Diehl-Armstrong and her co-conspirators were willing to go. The psychological manipulation involved in convincing Wells to participate, even under duress, speaks to the complexity of the human mind and the capacity for coercion. Impact on the community. The murder of Brian Wells had a profound impact on the Erie community. The shocking nature of the crime and the public manner of Wells' death left residents grappling with fear and uncertainty. The case also drew national attention, highlighting the bizarre and tragic circumstances surrounding the robbery. In the years following the incident, the community rallied to support Wells' family and honor his memory. The case also prompted discussions about the need for better mental health services and the importance of addressing the root causes of criminal behavior. Press coverage and public response. The Brian Wells case received extensive media coverage from the outset. The live broadcast of the bomb detonation, coupled with the sensational details of the robbery plot, captured the public's attention and sparked widespread speculation about the motivations behind the crime. Documentaries, books, and news specials have since explored the case, examining the intricate web of deceit and manipulation that led to Wells' death. Public reaction to the case was one of shock and disbelief. Many found it difficult to comprehend the level of cruelty involved in using a human being as a pawn in such a dangerous scheme. The case also raised questions about the criminal justice system and the challenges of prosecuting complex, multifaceted crimes. Continuing Brian Wells' legacy. Brian Wells' death remains a tragic reminder of the potential for human cruelty and the importance of justice. Efforts to remember Wells and support his family have continued in the years since the incident. Educational campaigns and advocacy efforts aimed at promoting mental health awareness and violence prevention have been influenced by the lessons learned from the case. That's all for today's video. If you found this video informative and want to hear more true crime stories, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Click the bell icon to get notified every time we post a new video.